Welcome to High Heels and Lipstick Conversation, the space where grown-ass women get real, get inspired, and get empowered. Where confidence meets class and real talk meets real women. Where we celebrate the power, resilience, and beauty of womanhood. I'm your host, Nemia Carnice, your sister in style, success, and soulful conversation. This podcast is for my seasoned ladies, the women who've been there, done that, and still are stepping strong. From career moves to self-care, from relationships to reinvention, we keep it real, we keep it classy, and we always keep it fly. Now go grab your wine, your coffee, or your tea, because this is High Heels and Lipstick Conversation, and we got some grown woman talk to do. And don't forget to like, share, and hit the subscribe button. Let's go. Good evening, good evening, good evening. Come on into the room. Listen, we are live for another High Heels and Lipstick Conversation. I'm going to give y'all a chance to go grab your drinks, give a chance for a few folks to come on in the room, and then we're going to get our conversation started. I see they're slowly coming in. As you are coming into the room, please check in with us in the chat. We want you to be a part of this conversation. This is an engaging platform, and so it is a two-way conversation whenever we come before you with High Heels and Lipstick Conversation. So we want to know that you're here. So check in with me, and the way that we check in the chat is we put some high heels, we put some lipsticks, or just some kind of emoji, blue hearts, red hearts, to let us know that you are checking in the chat. So we got a good conversation for you on this evening. I'm just giving a chance for some folks to come on in. Oh, listen, I am, sipping my tea for this evening. Come on in, check in the chat when you come into the room. We're just giving an opportunity for some more folks to come into the room to join this conversation on this evening. In case you don't know who I am, my name is Nemia Carnice. I am your lovely host of High Heels and Lipstick Conversations. And if you want to know more about what High Heels and Lipstick Conversations is, it is just a platform where we have conversations like the ones that we're going to have tonight. Typically, there are conversations, they are, for a certain population, of women, what I would say grown-ass women. Seasoned women. Some folks refer to us as aunties. I gladly take that term. I don't care about being called an auntie because I done learned a lot, and I got a lot to share, a lot of wisdom to share. And so that's what we do on this platform. We just share wisdom. We have grown conversation and all of that good stuff. So grab your drink, check in with us as you come into the room. What are y'all sipping on tonight? I'm probably going to ask y'all again as more people into the room, but I am sipping tonight on some tea. Now, I love me a good cocktail, okay? I love me a good cocktail, but tonight, because I want to have a restful night's sleep, and after I finish chopping it up with y'all, I'm going to go and soak in me some Epsom salt. I had a hard workout today, and so I got to give my body, my muscles a chance to relax, and so I'm going to do a little soaking and some Epsom salt when I finish chopping a bath water, jet tub full of Epsom salt and some smell good and, lavender, just to relax my muscles a bit so that I can prepare myself to have another workout early in the morning. So listen, so I'm sipping on, not a cocktail tonight, I'm sipping on some tea, a little tea and some honey, to get my mind soothed and prepared for this evening's conversation. and then this evening's rest and relaxation. Okay, so I can get up and do it all again in the morning. But come into the room. As you come into what I call the ladies' room, there's a meeting in the ladies' room. I'll be back real soon. Come into the ladies' room, check in, let us know that you are here. We would love to know that you are a part of this conversation. And it's going to be a good conversation on this evening. Listen, this content, I'm not new to YouTube. I have been doing YouTube for a little while now, but I'm also a 9-to-5er. Okay. So, YouTubers that make big money, got large followings, all of that, they do this all day, every day, 4, 5, 6 times a day. And I got a career, so I can't do these conversations every day, all day. However, I have already just kind of decided, as I've been thinking and strategizing and saying, okay, now is really time to put energy into growing the platform. Just in between my lives, just putting some content out there, again, still within the frame of high heels and lipstick conversation, but still putting some content out there in between the lives that would spark conversation, spark thought, so on and so on. So again, I'm dedicating myself to that. And if this is your first time checking in, you don't know what high heels and lipstick conversation is about, welcome to the Ladies Room. Again, this is a platform that is, all about conversations. It's about femininity. It's about faith. It's about purpose. It's about all of those things that, us as women, particularly Black women, that we, questions and thoughts and perspectives and all of that good stuff come up. So we got a good conversation for you tonight. But before I get into the conversation, again, if you are coming into the room, I see a couple more people that have come into the room. Please don't hesitate to check in with the chat. Tell me. Those seem to get a lot of engagement and a lot of traction because it's the trend on social media. But we talk about a variety of topics, and so there are times that I feel like it's important for us to get a male perspective, male voice. So when I post questions of the night, question of the day on my platform, I'll call out and say, fellas, I want to hear your perspective. Okay. This is not a platform that necessarily is bashing men. I don't do that. I don't believe in that. I'm a whole married woman, so I ain't getting ready to have those kinds of negative, toxic conversations where we're bashing each other. I don't like the whole gender wars and all that, but that don't mean I won't tell y'all ass the truth. Okay. So I won't stand down from having a hard conversation with the brother if a conversation needs to be had. After all, this is a female-centered platform, and sometimes y'all need to know the truth, and you need to know it from the truth from a female's perspective, because our experiences are different. Okay, so this is not that platform where we bash men. Okay. Sometimes y'all need a little help. Okay, brothers, any brothers, if you on a replay. If I come up in your algorithm or you just happen to be catching it, sometimes y'all asses are a little crazy and y'all need a little help. Sometimes y'all need to lay on the couch and work out your traumas, right? But for the most part, we love the brothers over here, okay? So, but there are times that I'll invite them to the conversation, and there are times that I will have a conversation where I'm talking about celebrity stuff, celebrity gossip, or I'm not a celebrity gossip YouTuber. I mean, there's so much of that out on YouTube, and I just feel like this is what sets me apart, or what I want to set me apart from some of the other platforms. But we like a little tea as women of a certain persuasion and age. We like a little tea. As I'm sipping on tea tonight, y'all see my cup? It says, never underestimate a woman who rocks high heels and lipstick. Okay. Was that a coincidence that I put my tea in this cup tonight? Okay. So anyway, we like a little tea over here. We like a little mess. Okay. We like a little tea. We don't like to be in mess. Okay, we don't want no mess of our own. We don't want nobody in our mess. We like other people's mess. Okay, whether it's our favorite TV show or you know, or a book we're reading, or a little celebrity mess, celebrity gossip, culture mess, whatever. So what's trending on social media, and so if there are conversations that I think would fit into the high heels and lipstick platform, yeah, I will pose a question, pose a thought, or so on and so forth, about celebrity. Okay, and so today I made this post, and I'm just sharing an observation, and I'm gonna get y'all thoughts. You can share your thoughts. Let me get to it because I want to read it. I shared this thought on my platform, and I just made an observation. So it was about the whole Claressa, Papoose, and Remy Ma. Okay, so some of y'all ain't been following their story, I have followed their story. So I'm gonna tell you why. Okay, not just because I like a little tea and a little mess, but it was all that comes on my algorithms. Okay, so I'm like, I gotta change my algorithms up or something. But I went down a rabbit hole, and then two, I love hip hop. Okay, so my shirt, if you can see my shirt, it says when I graduated, but on here's some albums, that came out in 1995. I think we got Raekwon up here, we got Farside, we got Goody Mo B. And so because Remy Ma and Papoose are attached to hip hop, I'm a hip hop lover. So of course that kind of news also comes across my feed. And so today I posed a question. And I invited my ladies because I wanted my ladies' perspective, and I want to get y'all perspective. So the question was random combo. Okay, Remy Ma's glow up after dropping the dead weight of Papoose should be studied. So if you have followed them at all, if you know anything about it, Papoose and Remy Ma are no longer together. They are in what appears to be a very bitter divorce. And Papoose is with Claressa Shields, the boxer. A lot of us didn't, I follow sports, but I didn't follow women's boxing as closely. I knew of Claressa, but it wasn't until all of this like scandal and fiasco with Remy Ma and Papoose and all that came about that I really got to know who she was. And I have some thoughts on her, But anyway, so the question was, back to the question. So I said that her glow up, Remy Ma's glow up, needs to be studied because it's been very contentious already. But Remy Ma has been everywhere. She's also in the algorithm. She is, doing dropping music in movies. And she's getting ready to release an album, and she's looking good, her body right. You know what I'm saying? Whether she got a little nip tuck, a little mommy makeover, which she probably did. Oh, it's okay. We'll get a little mommy makeover, but she's looking good. She's looking younger. She looks more vibrant. She looks like there is a level of peace that she's obtained, even in the midst of a rocky divorce, okay, to Papoose. And so what I asked of the lady is, how many ladies can identify with dropping a dead relationship? And then it appears that God just opened the floodgates of blessings in your life. Raise your hand if you can identify. That's what I put on the post. Raise your hand. I know I can identify. And I think back to, my time in my early 20s in a toxic situation where I almost lost my life. And I made a remark on this post that I keep a state ID from back then during that time. And every so often I look at that state ID because it reminds me of what I grew from. Okay. And it was a state ID, like, little driver's license state ID. And I looked so haggardy, and I looked old, and I was puffy and swollen in the face. Now, I like to eat. So some of it was because I like to eat, but clearly there was a different, I looked stressed on my face just from this state ID. And it reminds me, honestly, where I grew from. And after having left that relationship, there was, just so much evolution, and God just did a lot of big things in my life after leaving that relationship. And so,
you may identify, you may have lost weight, you got fine as fuck on them, you looked younger, maybe you grew in wisdom, you pursued your education, you got a better job, so your money got better, you just seem to blossom after you left this toxic situation. So that was the question that I posed, and I pose it again specifically to ladies. But let me tell you, the observation that I made is that is a difficult conversation for some men to have. Okay. If you are just checking in, will you please check in with me in the comments? Let me know that you are here. Also, I need you to share this live, whatever platform you're on. If you are on YouTube, I need you to like and subscribe to the page and share. Okay, because that gets me in the algorithms. If you're on Facebook, I need you to share this live because, again, it gets me in the algorithms and, gets me out there. So I would appreciate that. And as you come in the room, just check in. Let me know you're here. Let me know you're here. Let me know you're a part of tonight's conversation. So anyway, I had an exchange with a brother in that post. And what I observe is that is a very sensitive topic for some men. Okay. It is hard for some men to conceive that a woman glows up after having left a relationship, right? Because I think, especially for this conversation as it's centered around Claressa and Papoose and everything, when all of the fiasco first hit social media, it was framed as if this was like a city boys up situation, right? Because we know Papoose and Remy to be love goals, black love, couples goals. He held her down while she was locked up, married her, stayed down. They were couples goals. So as those of us who love hip hop, who maybe watch them on TV or whatever the case, that's what we knew of Papoose and Remy. And so when it all went to hell for their marriage and their relationship, and the reporting came out about their relationship and their marriage, it was all centered around Remy having cheated on Papoose. And so when it was exposed that Claressa and Papoose were together, it seemed like, okay, city boys up, okay? Papoose then left cheating as Remy, and he then found a younger athlete, better than Remy, all of these things. And the more that this the dissolution of this marriage plays out on social media, the more we are finding out that Pat was not the man who we thought he was. Okay, that there was some cheating going on, and this is not to say this is not promoting, or this is not me gloating in the a marriage dissolving. Marriage is a covenant, and it is something serious that you take before God. But the reality is, not all situations last. Sometimes marriages become toxic, cantankerous, and you have to leave the situation, remove the situation. It just doesn't work. So that's the reality of marriage, right? And so when we first saw this, everybody was against Remy. Even I was like, girl, how could you mess up? Like, as hard as it is to find a man out here, but then we have learned way more about Pap, unfortunately. And there is some gambling addiction, and there is some reports allegedly of possible drug habits, and and pretty much not carrying his weight financially in the marriage. And so it's just all messy and all that. And the biggest thing, the observation I made, is that sometimes it's hard for men to understand that. And so I got a little pushback in that post today, from a brother or two, just expressing, trying to defend Pap and all that. But sometimes the hard conversations need to be had. Again, this is a platform that is female centered, and so we're going to get the female perspective. And that won't always be the same as our male counterparts. Okay. So this is a safe space for us ladies over here. I said all that to say, okay. So let's get into our conversation. The real reason why we're here. Again, we like a little tea. We like a little celebrity gossip. So we may fit it in here and there, but ultimately that is not what this platform is built on. So tonight, we want to talk about the question of the night. I also address this question, and I'm going to later, as we get into this conversation, I'm going to read some of the responses when I posed this question of the night on my platform, not even a week ago, some days ago. And, it was a full conversation in the chat. And tonight's question is, can independent women be great wives? Can independent women be great wives? And so the post that I made got, some good engagement. And tonight we want to unpack this question a bit, what it really means to be independent, okay? Because one of the things that I believe is that being independent as a woman is not the issue, okay? It's the misunderstanding of independence and what that means to marriage, right? It is the misunderstanding of sometimes how men operate, right? And what makes them great men, right? And then sometimes us as women having to compromise. So we're going to unpack that tonight. Can independent women be great wives? Okay. So as we get started, I want to put a question out there, because again, I got to know that you're here, and you are with me and having this conversation. So I'm going to put this question out here. Okay. And I want you to fill in the blank, and I just need one word in the chat. Okay. An independent woman is, and fill in the blank. What do you think an independent woman is? Put it in the chat. Put it in the chat. Don't be scared. If you're on the replay, still put it in the chat, okay? Wise. Wise, okay. A good one. Some may say strong. Independent women. I mean, there's a variety of ways to answer the question, but wise, guarded, successful, difficult. Okay. We said wise, confident. Some could say lonely. If we think about social media trends, there are a number of ways to kind of describe or fill in the blanks of that question. An independent woman is, okay? And so what we're going to do is kind of unpack the difference between being independent, interdependent, and hyper dependent, okay? Because those are three different things. So what it means to be independent in marriage, what it means to be interdependent in marriage, okay? And what it means to be hyper dependent, okay? Stephanie also says no nonsense. Now, I'm going to preface this conversation by saying I was very hesitant to have this kind of conversation, or these kinds of conversations. So when I was before you a few weeks ago, we did a live, we talked about love, marriage, finding love after the age of 40. Is it possible? So on and so forth. And the reason why I was hesitant, because I haven't been married long, right? I have friends who have been married 20 plus years. I have, sorors who have been married for a long time. So I've seen long marriages. And so I have not been married the same length of time. And so often, I have been hesitant to have these conversations, but let me just say that, God kind of pushed me a little bit to have this conversation. Sherry says an asset, an independent woman is an asset. Absolutely. Okay. So again, tonight we want to just talk about, can independent women be great wives? And again, the way that we need to have that conversation is defining those three terms: independent, interdependence, and hyperdependence, because those are two different things. Okay. The other question I want to ask is, do we think that independent women are created, or are they forced to be independent? Okay. Or one and the same. Were they created or forced to be independent? And I say that because when I think about my own personal story growing up, I was raised, for the most part, by my single mother. Okay. I had my father in my life, right? Up until a certain point when my mother and him got divorced. My father was a addict. And so he, at that point, after they got divorced, he was in and out of my life. And so my formative years and teenage years and all of that, up until he passed away when I was 17, he was in and out. So everything that I learned about womanhood, so on and so forth, I learned at the hands of having a single mother. Okay. Sherry says a combination of both. Stephanie says both. And I think you both are right? That there are some situations that created us to be independent. My situation, being raised by a single mother, it created me to be independent, right? So my mother taught both me and my sister, you graduate school, high school, you go to school, you get a job, you do all of these things so that you can take care of yourself, right? And so me having done that for so long, going into marriage, there are some things that I had to unlearn about being independent. There are things that work great for marriage when you're independent. There are some things that are not so great when you're married. Some things about independence that are not so great when you're married. And we'll touch on those as well. But I was created to be independent by my mother teaching, so on and so forth. There are certain situations where we are forced into independence, right? And so we think about single motherhood, again, being a single mother, father leaving the home, father doesn't want to be home, whatever. We know the realities of our story. That forces that woman into single motherhood. That forces that mother into doing what she got to do to take care of her babies. Okay. And perhaps she, is for, you just do what you do. You work yourself to death out of financial survival. Historically, Black women, to be honest, we have traditionally been a race of women who have always had to figure it out. Okay. We've always been leaders. We've always had to carry a certain independence, and I can go into a diatribe about why that's so. If we look at things that happen to us systemically, a lot of it gets blamed. If you listen to social media, a lot of it gets blamed on feminism and all of these things. But feminism didn't send our men to prison for years and for years for drug addictions or drug dealing. Okay. And force them out of the home. Feminism did not send our men, Black men in particular, off to Vietnam War and they came back addicted and they were not able to function as men, right? And so it was not feminism that did those things. Those were systematic oppressions that were forced upon us. And so it created generations of women who were independent as a result of surviving, right? Because we were thrust in survival. And so there are a number of reasons why we are either forced or created to be independent. And it was already shared that it's a combination of both. Okay. So independence versus hyperdependence. So because I think this conversation is important to have, and understanding what some of the terms are that is important. It's important to know the difference. Okay. So these are two different things. So independence says that you are confident, okay, self-sufficient, secure, you have healthy boundaries, and you can receive. That's how independence is often or is termed. Okay. What we often get confused independence with is hyper dependence, and hyper independence comes from a toxic place. Okay. So hyper independence, maybe we've had some trauma. Okay. Maybe we've been burned bad by relationships. Maybe, again, we're just in a bad headspace of we picked up some bad habits. Sometimes we can pick up bad habits from our mama or our daddy, whatever the case. But hyper independence typically comes from a negative space. And that means we don't trust anybody, right? When it comes to marriage, it's hard for us to trust men. Okay. We often refuse help if we're hyper independent. We always feel like we need to be in control. I'm going to talk about that as we talk about independence and hyperdependence. We may have emotional walls. Okay. It's hard for somebody to get through. It's hard for, again, it sometimes goes back to hard to be able to trust anyone. And only know how to give. It's hard for you to receive. Okay. So those are the two differences and two different traits when it relates to independence and hyperdependence. Okay. So here's the key. It is not a bad thing, a bad concept to be independent. Okay. If you are a wife, if you desire to be a wife one day, hyper independence is the space and place that you want to stay away from, right? And that's hard. Okay. That's hard. Especially, again, Stephanie said, child, I got all of them. And it's hard. It's hard to break out of those modes. I'm not going to say it's easy. Again, I was hesitant to have these conversations because I ain't been married that long. So what do I know? Right. But again, I do feel led that some of my platform needs to be dedicated to these kinds of conversations and topics. And so for me personally, I can say going into marriage, I was hyper independent, right? And where I struggled the most and where I had to do a lot of reflection on myself was in that always in control mode. Okay. And that came because I was always used to being in control. I did not have to rely on anybody, right? I left my mama's house when I was 18 and I never turned back. Okay. Where we're in a different generation, the younger generation are staying in their mothers and their fathers and their parents' home much, much later. On average, a lot of kids don't leave the home until like 27, 28. That's like the average, and studies will prove that. But back in my day, as a bona fide Gen X, you got out of the house at 18 and you became self-sufficient and you got a job and you started life and you started paying bills and you did all of these things. And I did that for so long that when I got married well into my 40s, I didn't know how to loosen up control. because I was always used to being in control. I was always used to being the one to make the decisions financially. I was always used to being the one that got shit taken care of around the house. If there was something that happened around the house and I needed home repair because I bought my first home at a young age, I was the one that had to figure it out. Right. And so coming into marriage, where not only am I now a wife, but I'm also a mother because I'm married into children, that was probably the biggest mirror to my face. Okay. Because marriage will put a mirror to your face. Okay. It'll make you more self-aware of your flaws, more self-aware of your inadequacies, more, whatever. And it is normal, Stephanie. That's normal, especially when you have been single for so long. But even though it's normal, it can be a source of contention in marriage. Trust me, I know, because I didn't even notice myself that I always had to be in control of certain things, right? And so that's where, again, you got to just kind of put that mirror to your face and say, it's good to be independent, but the traits that come with hyper dependence, not so. Okay. So hyper dependence, the doesn't trust anyone. Of course, that was big. Refuses help. Okay. I still have issues of in that particular era, refusing help. Now, I'm going to say this and preface this, okay? Because we throw out the term the soft girl life. I do feel that I am in my soft girl era, okay? So one of the very first things that I stopped doing is taking out the garbage, okay? But there are certain things that I had to realize that I had to relinquish help, or not be afraid to ask for help, or not be afraid to rely on my husband for help in certain areas of our life, if that makes sense. Okay. For some people, it could be, for me, I'll just say it was maybe asking my husband for money, right? Because I'm used to my own coins. Okay. Got my own purse. I've been to school and did this. And so asking a man for money in that way was not comfortable to me, even with my own husband. And I know if he got it, he'll give it, that has not always been a place of comfort. So sometimes we have to kind of understand, if we're, again, hyper dependent or independent. And hyper dependence, okay, they're afraid to receive help. Okay. So again, as it was stated, some of these are normal, hyper dependent, only knows how to give, refuses help, doesn't trust anyone, always in control, emotional walls. Okay. So that's hyper dependence versus independence. Okay. Now let me share another one. So when we compare, I want to talk about this, independence versus interdependence. And I got to bring this up on my, sometimes I can't always read it on that screen. So bear with me, y'all. Bear with me. So I can read it from my phone. But independence versus interdependence. Hopefully you guys can see it, but baby, these eyeballs of mine I blame everything on perimenopause. And so these eyeballs of mine sometimes needs my reading glasses, and I just got my contacts in today. So, okay. So independence versus interdependence. So independence, it means I can do it alone. I don't need nobody's help, so on and so forth. It's focused on self, okay? It also values self-reliance. I can handle it on my own. It builds walls, doesn't need others. Independence says, I don't need you. Independence also carries the weight alone. Burnout is the result. Okay. So there is a toxic side to independence, which is that hyper dependence. So when we're doing this comparison, think of being hyper dependent on the left, and then what is useful and what it is important for us to learn going into marriage for us as women is that we understand the concept of interdependence. Okay. And interdependence is focused on we, our goals, our growth, our way. That does not mean that you cannot have your own goals. It does not mean you can't have your own growth opportunities, your own career, your own your own purpose. It doesn't mean any of those things. So interdependence doesn't mean that those things. What it does mean, though, however, if you're looking for growth, you're looking for career advancement, you're looking for purpose, purpose and mission-driven work, whatever the case may be, that you're doing so with the mindset that this benefits the marriage in some way. Okay. Interdependence values collaboration. We accomplish more together. You build together, right? You build together. You build bridges. You build trust. You stay connected. You grow together. How many times have we seen marriages where sometimes, and this sometimes happens in marriages that have where they've been married a long time, 20 plus years, and they grow apart because they grow separately. They grow in separate ways, and they're not growing together, not evolving together. They're not maturing together. Sometimes that could be a hindrance in marriage, but okay. Interdependence needs and values others. Okay. So interdependence is not necessarily having the minds as it relates to marriage, not necessarily having the mindset that I don't need no man and I can do this all on my own, and I've been doing this all on my own. But interdependence, when you enter into marriage, you take on the mindset that I need you and I value. I need you, right? And so I think for a man, when we talk about what they need and what they value, those are probably one of the most valuable things that you can say to your man. Okay. So you think with the mindset that I need you, I need my husband, I value my husband brings me a certain level of value. My husband brings me peace. My husband brings me calm. My husband is my best friend. All of these things where you develop interdependence, like their presence. You appreciate their presence. You appreciate what they bring to the marriage, so on and so forth. Okay. And then interdependence means that you also share the weight. Okay. So again, it is important for going into marriage to think of, not just think of singularly. We don't have to think of independence being a negative thing. However, we think more in terms of being interdependent. Now, what ways let me ask this question of you guys, okay? And then I'll share. In what ways can independence be a good thing for marriage? Okay, let me ask that again. In what ways can being independent as a woman going into marriage, in what ways can independence be a good thing for marriage? I'm gonna give y'all a chance to catch up, hear that, put your thoughts in the chat, sip my tea, my honey and tea. In what ways can independence be good for marriage? For us as wisdom. Okay. If you are just checking in, please check in the chat. Let us know that you are here. Checking in the chat just helps me to grow a little bit. I'm a small platform. Again, I said I'm going to be putting out more content, not necessarily lives, but more videos specifically on my YouTube page. I'll share them to my Facebook platforms centered around certain topics that I think are relevant to us and relevant to high heels and lipstick conversation. I got a good one. Okay. I got a good one that I'm going to share. I'm going to put it out there by Wednesday. Okay. I'm going to do a video, put it out there by Wednesday, invoke thought. I'm not going to tell you just yet, but it's going to be a good one. It's going to be for us aunties. Okay. But this is one of those conversations I was talking about later. If you're just checking in, you didn't catch my intro. This question is going to be one where we invite the brothers to have some conversations centered around one. But I got a good one. Okay. Based on a trending topic that I recently saw on Thread. So I'm put that out there for you and get your thoughts. Okay. But the question is, okay, and where we're at right now, in what ways can being an independent woman benefit marriage? Okay. So if you're still thinking about that, think about that. Put it in chat. Let me know. My perspective is when it comes to, when I think about, men and I'm not saying I'm an expert on men. Okay. I'm not saying that at all. I know my husband, I know what makes him tick. And I know that some traits, some behaviors for men are similar, are common. Right. And so men like to feel needed. Right. They are protectors. They are providers. They're good men. Right. They have natural, innate, behaviors where they want to protect, they want to provide, they want to feel needed, they need to be respected. Okay. So being respected is good. It is kind of tier, for men. But for me, what I have found ways that still keeping my independence, one, my coins, my career, I haven't lost that drive, that ambition career-wise and making money and things of that nature. But just in the little day-to-day things. So there, my husband don't got to tell me, when to go get a oil change. Now, sometimes he'd be like, go to the damn car wash and clean out your car and vacuum, but I don't rely on him to do those things. I still do those things. There are some wives that don't have to touch their car. Their husbands take care of that. Wash the car, clean the car out, does all of those things. And kudos to those women. But my husband works long hours, long days. And so I won't sit around and just wait for him to go get my oil changed or go wash my car, things of that nature. I don't rely on him for some of those things. There are, certain decisions that he's good with me making, right? Where he doesn't I don't necessarily have to have his input to make certain decisions. Now, big decisions, yeah, but big financial decisions, that always has to be talked about, because what we're doing is we're building together. But there are certain, things where he is okay and he allows me just to flourish in my independence. Me hanging out with my girls, never a problem, right? You know what I'm saying? I know I have to balance it, and I enjoy hanging out with him just as much as I do hanging out with my girlfriend. So there are some ways where being independent can be a good thing. And I think sometimes we always, because we put such negative connotations on the term independence, we automatically assume that all men feel that way. Okay. But, independence can be a good thing. Now, I'm getting ready to share. I'm going to share this, and I want to get your reaction. I want to share this video. Now, this came from Trill C. Those of you who follow Trill AC, those who follow tonight's conversation and some of the hosts and things of that nature, there's a guy that and I don't follow it closely, but I will pick up reels and stuff like that. There's a guy that was either he was on tonight's conversation or he still is on tonight's conversation, and he made this video in reference to what we're talking tonight. So I'm going to share my screen and get your thoughts on what he shared. Okay, Trill AC. Can y'all see that? Can y'all see that? Okay. I'm gonna push play. Can y'all hear that? Wait, let me stop. Let me fix my sound. Bear with me, y'all. One day when I grow as a platform, I am going to have some moderators when I grow. But, you know, right now I'm a one-man band. See, that's my independence coming out. I'm a one-man band. I can get this done. And I got to figure out why my sound. Okay, let's see here. Oh, here we go. Duh. Okay.
Nice car. Don't let none of that fool you. When it come to her man, she want to be treated like a big baby. Bro, every woman want to be treated like a big baby when it come to that man. Like, I don't care how accomplished she is. I don't care how strong she is. I don't care how tough she is and all of that. When it come to her man, she want to be treated like a big baby. Like, literally, when she around you, she want to be able to turn her brain off. She want to be able to, like, all of a sudden, she can't lift stuff heavy. All of a sudden, she can't open her own doors. All of a sudden, she can't pull out her chest. Like, she want to be treated like a big baby. Like, she literally want to run and jump in your arms and have you spin her around in circles and the same way you would your daughter. Like, that's how she want to be treated. She want to be treated like your big baby. She want to come lay on that couch and just get swallowed by your arms, you understand, and just cuddled and squeezed and things of that nature. Like, that's what she want when she around her man. That's the safety that she want to feel. That's the protection that she want to feel. I don't care how loud her mouth is. I don't care how aggressive she talk, how aggressive she presents, things of that nature. Deep down, she want to be treated like a big baby by her man. And that's the reality of the situation. Like, don't let all of that bravado fool you, bro. Like, don't let all of them accomplishments, all of them degrees, all of that money she make, that nice car, don't let none of that fool you. When it come to her man, she want to be treated like a big baby. Bro, every woman want to.
What do y'all think? Y'all agree? I'm gonna play it one more time because I want y'all to hear everything that he's saying. Let me know what y'all think.
Be treated like a big baby when they come to that man. Like, I don't care how accomplished she is. I don't care how strong she is. I don't care how tough she is and all of that. When it come to her man, she want to be treated like a big baby. Like, literally, when she around you, she want to be able to turn her brain off. She want to be able to, like, all of a sudden, she can't lift stuff heavy. All of a sudden, she can't open her own doors. All of a sudden, she can't pull out her chest. Like, she want to be treated like a big baby. Like, she literally want to run and jump in your arms and have you spin her around in circles and the same way you would your daughter. Like, that's how she want to be treated. She want to be treated like your big baby. She want to come lay on that couch and just get swallowed by your arms, you understand, and just cuddled and squeezed and things of that nature. Like, that's what she want when she around her man. That's the safety that she want to feel. That's the protection that she want to feel. I don't care how loud her mouth is. I don't care how aggressive she talk, how aggressive she presents, things of that nature. Deep down, she want to be treated like a big baby by her man. And that's the reality of the situation.
Yeah. Y'all agree? Stephanie says yes. Sharita says absolutely. Sharon says, hey, Sarah. Says definitely agree. Stephanie says, I was just smiling, listening to this just be all up in his skin. And yes, I told y'all. Listen, you know, to know that you are protected and provided for, and you can just turn off your brain at times, and you don't got to do this all alone. And, you know, you can come out of survival mode. and the younger generation, and we've talked about this on this platform before, the younger generation calls it soft girl life, right? And soft girl life is not just relegated to relationships with men or what have you. You know, there's a number of things that, and ways that you treat yourself, and less stress and relaxation and all of these things that can add to being a soft girl. But I think he got it. Like, he nailed what we as women like, what we need. We want to be a baby. We don't want to survive. We don't want to call all the shots all the time. We don't want to make all the decisions. It is, you know, for me in my career, I use my brain mentally every day, all day. So when I come home, you know, or when it comes to my husband, that's my soft place. I'm gonna tell you, just to be honest, sometimes I probably turn into, you know, sometimes my husband will be like, now you know how to do that. Or you know, or you can do that. Sometimes he get mad. He gets mad at me when there's certain things that, because I've gotten in such a place, and he has conditioned me so to just take care of shit on my behalf. So it's nothing for me to be like, baby, we need to do X, Y, Z. And he'd be like, by we, you mean me. But I've been conditioned by that. And it is a space and a place that, again, it does take you into that soft girl era. But again, there's some things that my husband be like, now listen, you've been doing this for 30 some years of your life, and all of a sudden you get married and you can't, you know, you can't do X, Y, Z. Or he'll tell me, you mushy and soft now. You know, you weren't like this when we first met. Yeah, because I let my guard down, right? Because I became less independent, and I became interdependent on my husband, right? There are some things that I don't even have to do, right? And I'm telling a little bit on my perimenopause, but there have been times where I have failed to lock doors or do certain things because I'm in such a mode that my husband takes care of shutting down the house at night and making sure everything's secure and safe and so on and so forth, right? And I've had to like adjust, could be like, okay, now, you know, you if your husband's not here, or if he works or so on and so forth, you can't just get so relaxed in your interdependence, okay? So relaxed in mode where you know, he's the only one that shuts down. You can't get that relaxed where you, when he's not away, that you don't go back to that independent mode, right? Of making sure you lock the house up and making sure the doors are locked and the windows are closed and all of that stuff, right? But I think, you know, going back to the video, you know, he said what a lot of us women need, and it kind of leads into the conversation where we talk about submission and things of that nature. And I'm not going to get too you know, too heavy into that, but there are some differences between submission and partnership, and I think too that is a conversation that that has a lot of misunderstanding behind it. What it means for a woman to submit to her man. I think we sometimes put the wrong terms, right, on it, or we as women think it as being subservient. We think sometimes it means being not having a voice, right? So even we as women misinterpret that term. And then there are some men that misinterpret the term and they abuse it, right? And so you have to have a very reasonable biblical perspective of what submission is and what it is not. But my point in all that is that when we experience what Trill AC just shared about us and going in, being able to shut our brain off and becoming interdependent on our husbands or, you know, our spouses, or relate in a relationship. It's not just marriage, right? It's even for us ladies that are seeking relationships, seeking marriage, what have you. and it sends us into, you know, that soft girl, it's easier for us to submit. We don't put up as much of a fight because we've let our guards down, because we've developed trust in this man, because we have gotten to a level where we trust his decision making, so on and so forth. And that's not always easy, again, but going into marriage, those are things that you will have to put a mirror to yourself and check often. Again, marriage is a mirror. Marriage is the quickest way to check yourself in that regard. Okay. Right. Okay. Listen, so I had to make some notes, and we're going to end this conversation really quickly because we got to answer the question. Again, the question tonight is, can independent women make great wives? And I think we can, ladies. I think, again, if we understand the difference between independence and interdependence, that you both have, you know, the same goals, so on and so forth. When you understand some of those things, it makes it easier, you know, to, again, put a mirror to yourself and kind of sometimes check those behaviors that are hyper independent, because you gotta let some of that go. You gotta compromise. You have to unlearn some behaviors. Okay, so I made some notes about what we should be asking ourselves as wives, okay, or women who desire to be wives. Some of the questions that we need to just kind of ask ourselves. And I'm going to just pose these questions. I'm going to pose them slowly. Maybe I'll even put them up. Let's see if I can put some of them up in the chat, okay, so that you guys can get some of the questions, because I made notes. So I wouldn't forget anything on this evening, because you know, this is an important conversation. This is important. We having high heels and lipstick conversations over here, and so whenever I have these conversations, I want people to walk away with something. I want people to either walk away with something that they've learned, that puts something on their mind, that invokes thought. Of course, I want to invoke conversation, but I want you to be able to walk away with something. And so I'm just going to put a couple of these questions that we should be asking ourselves as wives, as women, if we want to, you know, be great wives. Okay. And we've already kind of mentioned some of these, but this is kind of a deep question here. Okay. But this question is, can someone love you? Okay. Okay. Can someone love you without feeling like you owe them? Okay. And I'm just going to pause and let you think about that. If you have thoughts, share your thoughts in the chat. But these are questions that we have to ask ourselves. Can someone love you without feeling like you owe them for loving you? Okay. It's that unconditional love. Can someone love you without you feeling like you owe them? Okay. The second question is, can someone lead you in an area where they're stronger? Can someone lead you in an area where they're stronger, right? Just because and I'm adding thought to this question, but just because we as women come from a space and a place of independence and survival, and we've done it all alone, all ourselves, that doesn't mean we're strong in every area. Okay. Sometimes we go into marriages and we have been the one that have paid all the bills, and kept the lights on and got our car fixed when we needed to, and all of those good things. But sometimes we as women are not the stronger money manager. Okay. Right. Sometimes we don't manage well, even though we are paying bills and doing all that. Money management is not our strong point. So can you enter into a marriage with a man who is frugal and who is very conscious about where the dollars go? Okay. Or can you have conversations centered around what you did with your portion of the money, right? Is there evidence of that, right? Do you spend your money frivolously? So can your husband, can your spouse, can someone you enter into a relationship, can they lead you in an area where they are stronger? Are you able to relinquish that? Okay. As a question to ask yourself. Another question to ask yourself. This is a pretty, common question to kind of ask yourself. But again, can someone help you? Oh, wait, that didn't copy over. Okay. But can someone help you? Okay. And I'm not just saying, because I think we need to clarify what does help mean, right? And so oftentimes when we talk about help and a man providing help, we only think of their help in terms of money, paying bills, so on and so forth, or picking up the heavy bag, doing the heavy lifting, doing the yard work, so on and so forth. Let's not limit men to just those kinds of help, right? Can you take constructive criticism from a man? Okay. You've been doing, sometimes they may be right about you. Okay. Sometimes they may, after getting to know you, they may call you out on some things. And deep in your heart, they are right. And this is the behavior that you may have to change, or this is the behavior that, they've identified that affects them. Okay. And they're only saying that to help you. Can you receive that kind of help? Can you receive that constructive criticism from a man? Are you able to? Okay. Nika says the right one will. The right one will. What do you mean, Nika? The right one, the right man can give you constructive criticism, or the right man will give you constructive criticism. Okay. But yeah, can you receive that kind of constructive criticism? Again, this is me telling on myself, okay? I'm using myself as a muse, so y'all getting to know me more. But that was not always my area of ease, okay? Being able to receive constructive criticism from my husband, okay? And that's where I said that marriage will put a mirror to your face. With the right man. Nika says the right man. With the right man, it can put a mirror to your face. And sometimes you got to face yourself, right? And so we often come with this because we're so independent, because we've done it all by ourselves, because we have been in survival mode, because we're the only one that had to make the decision, so on and so forth. We think we have all the answers, right? And that's not always the case. Nika says the right man will give you constructive criticism and lovingly tell you how you can do better. Absolutely. Okay. But you got to be ready to receive that, right? And so that is an example of you taking off that independent nature and putting on interdependence, right? And you receiving it constructively It's for you, the better. It's for your better, for you to do better. It's for you to be able to receive how he needs to be loved, behaviors that impact him negatively, so on and so forth. And ultimately, thinking with an interdependent mindset is for the benefit, the value of your marriage. Okay. Yeah. So can you receive help? Can you receive constructive criticism? And one last question I'm going to ask is, can someone protect you? Okay. Can someone protect you? Can someone protect you? And what do we mean by that? Not just physically, okay? There are ways that we as women have to protect our husband or protect our mates, our spouses, so on and so forth. But often we only think of the protection of a man in the physical sense, and it is a lot of that is involved. But can you, let down your tough girl sometime? Back to Trill AC, every woman just wants to, climb up in her man's lap and just be a big old baby. But can you protect them? Kind of goes hand in hand with that, sometimes that constructive criticism. But can you be protected? Can you let down your tough girl demeanor, right? Let your guard down. And again, these are questions that we just have to kind of answer for ourselves if we are looking forward to being great wives. Okay. So those are just some of the questions, and I'm just going to kind of just end with a little bit of audience participation. Okay. So we have talked about the difference between independence and interdependence. We have, we didn't touch a whole lot on submission and partnership. So the only thing that I would just kind of say to that is that just understanding, because sometimes this conversation can go hand in hand with that. But in the biblical sense, one of the things I think is often to the failure of people that try to explain submission and so on and so forth, and they try to do it from a biblical sense, is that when they quote scripture, they forget the part of the scripture in Ephesians 5:21 and so on, that it talks first about two people submitting to one another out of reverence for Christ. So a husband and a wife submitting to one another. So there is submission that has to happen on the man's side as well for the harmony of the marriage. And then that verse goes into the subsequent verses after Ephesians 5:21 goes into, a wife's role in her submission to her husband. But submission isn't losing your voice. It's not becoming small. It's not blind obedience. Okay. And we put it in the context of healthy partnership. Submission is mutual respect. It is trust. It is shared decision-making. It's serving one another. It may look like, from a wife's perspective, for me, if I hang out with my girls or what have you, this is submission and protection. But if I hang out with my girls, I always make sure that my husband knows when I leave the house and when I'm on my way home, right? And so that's not me being subservient. That's not him being controlling. That's not me having to check in or any of those things. That is a respect and submission to my husband, because he's a protector. He's my protector. And so there are things that I do, behaviors that I express for him to always be in the know, so on and so forth. So, he knows my comings and my goings, so on and so forth. So we talked about that submission. Can two leaders build together? We didn't really get into that, but this is where I want to end the conversation. And I think this is a thought-provoking question that if you go back and you think on this conversation and kind of, assess your own independence where you are on, you know, on the scale of that and what you have to work out on. But this is just an ending kind of question. And you can actually put it in the chat too. I want to hear from you as just like one of my ending thoughts. But what's one thing independence has taught you? What is one thing that independence has taught you? And I want to hear from you in the chat. So I'm gonna give you a little time just to answer that question, to get your thumbs working. And we're almost at the end of this conversation. But what is one thing that independence has taught you? What's one thing that independence has taught you? Sip my tea. Ooh, I'm gonna be so ready for, you know, this soaking that I'm about to do. Also, I can get up and have another strenuous workout. But what's one thing independence has taught you? Share with me your thoughts. Share with me your thoughts. I'm giving y'all time to put it in the chat. One thing, one quick sentence, one quick thought. I see y'all in here. I see you in here. Listen, this is conversation. This is not a one-way conversation. This is high heel and lipstick conversation. This is not me lecturing. This is not me, you know, teaching. No, there's a little bit of teaching in here, but you know, this is conversation, right? And so whenever we have these conversations, if this is your first time coming to the platform, I always invoke questions, share, you know, thoughts, share data, you know, whatever the case will be. Okay, they're coming in. So Sharon says, to know my worth. Independence has taught me to know my worth. Absolutely. Independence has taught me, from Nika says, independence has taught me that I am equipped to be successful. Absolutely. Independence works well in certain areas like our careers and things of that nature and our businesses and all of that good stuff. But we do have to kind of, you know, monitor it going into marriage. So yes, it has taught me that I am equipped to be successful. Sharitha says, independence has taught me to be more open and honest with myself. Absolutely. I love it. I love it. Stephanie, you're so funny. Says, child, I'm ready to be a dependent. I know. I know, girl. Woo, I'm telling you. I know. I get it. Yeah, so these are all great questions or great thoughts, y'all. Did we get something out of tonight? I wasn't intending to go so long. I probably spent a little bit longer than I should have on, you know, the first half. But did we get anything out of tonight? I hope so. I'm going to bring more conversations like this. And again, I think it's important. So I've termed these conversation wife school because it's preparing to be a wife, not just a bride. Now, taking into consideration that I have women in my audience, women who checked in, who've already been a wife. They know what being a wife is like. They've been married before, what have you. So they can probably school and teach me a few things. But again, it's just conversation that I will continue to have. And so I got another wife school conversation that I'm going to have, that I'm going to advertise, okay, soon, y'all. I got a topic that I'm going to put out there, a video about on a topic for my aunties that I'm going to put out there, and then another wife school that I'm going to put out there. So you need to subscribe. If you're on YouTube, you need to subscribe and click the notification button, because you will know when I'm live. You will see my updates to my videos and a few other pieces of content that I'm going to push out this week. And share, right? Tag me. This live won't go away if you're on Facebook, this live will be here for a while. So you can still share. You can catch the replay and you can share to your own platforms. Tag me in it. And you can continue the conversation in the chat, right? Like, so if there's something that struck you in this conversation, you can continue the conversation in the chat. But I want to continue to have this wife school, preparing to be a wife and not just a bride. So I got another topic. I got another topic that I'm gonna put out there, and you just need to stay tuned. But I thank you for this evening. I thank you for your engagement. I thank you for being a part of this conversation. Whenever I end any of these conversations, I always like to put some affirmations out there. And if you are tuned into my platform, I do this often. Things that would encourage us and so forth. You said, give us a hint, Stephanie. Stephanie said, give us a hint. Okay. Okay, I'm just going ahead and tell you. Okay. So the next conversation, because this has been a trending topic. It's been a sore spot. And this is the conversation that I want to make sure that men get an opportunity to really chime in. But does successful women intimidate men? Okay. Does successful women intimidate men? Men will have a very different perspective than we have. Okay. And then we want to talk about what that means for marriage. So that's the next topic. I just got to frame it. I got to put it together. I got to find the additional content to go along with it. So please, again, stay tuned. Press the subscribe button if you are on YouTube. Press the notification button so you can know when I am live. If you are on Facebook, also, like and subscribe. Stephanie said, we're going to talk about it. But here's the lipstick affirmation for this evening. Okay. Here's the affirmation for this evening, because again, my platform is built on faith, it's built on femininity, it's built on purpose. Okay, so here's where I leave you this evening. Okay, I honor the woman I have become through every challenge I've overcome. My strength is not a barrier to love, and my independence does not diminish my femininity. I am open to trust, partnership. It cut off. Wait a minute, y'all. Okay. I am open to trust, partnership, and the kind of love that values both my strength and my softness. Let me read that again. Okay. I honor the woman that I have become through every challenge I've overcome. My strength is not a barrier to love, and independence does not diminish my femininity. I am open to trust, partnership, and the kind of love that values both my strength and my softness. Okay, y'all. Smooches. Again, thank you for being part of this conversation. You've been kissed. Okay, you've been smooshed on. Thank you for joining me in the ladies' room. Until we meet again. Again, please subscribe, all that stuff, share, all that good stuff, and stay tuned to more high heels and lipstick conversations. Smooches, y'all.